Hello, everybody, and welcome to the White Hatter YouTube News Show. I'm Brandon.
I'm Darren.
Let's get into some news topics, shall we?
In the news.
Hey, happy Prime Day.
Yeah.
I guess when this video airs, it will be Prime Day. So
Yes.
get those lovely, lovely Prime sales if you're a Prime
Are you ordering
member.
anything? Are you ordering?
I don't know what sales are. We'll see.
I bought some new mowers, as you know, on the weekend. Electric. I got all electric.
Not on
stuff.
Prime, though.
Well, I was thinking about buying it on Amazon, but the prices where I got it, where I found it here in Victoria, were much cheaper than anything I found on Prime, because I thought, what a great time to order it on Prime Day, because then I could have it shipped free, right? But anyways, so what's going on with this?
As with any Prime Day and major sale event and holiday, there are increases of spam and scams and phishing.
Yeah.
So security researchers at Checkpoint, which is a security research company that browses the internet and tries to collect data on scam links, and they have found there have been a total of 1,900 new domains, websites, using the term Amazon in its name. 10% were found to be malicious.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. And they've seen a 37% jump in Amazon-related phishing attacks at the start of July.
This kind of segues really nicely. I'm just going to read this. We're going to talk about Rogers at the end of the presentation. I'm going to get lit up over that. But anyways, we lost Rogers. Anybody who's on the Rogers network here in Canada.
We weren't.
I was on Fido on my phone.
Oh, you were?
I know. I know.
I didn't realize
So anyways,
that.
it went down for over a day and a half. And so as a result of that, these new phishing, we actually put out an alert on Friday on our Facebook page. And so check this out. It says, here's what the message that came to cell phones. Dear customer, we understand that going a full day without connectivity has real consequences for our customers, which is why we are working to provide proper compensation to all entities impacted. Receive your due credit at, and then they had a Bitly account, right? It's like, a phishing we will go. So it didn't take criminals long to take advantage of a situation that was current and present at the time. And basically that's what's going on with the Amazon, right? Is because the whole Amazon Prime Day is present, it's current, so great opportunity to go fishing from a criminal element. Same thing with the what happened with Rogers.
Just be careful while you go shopping today, folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Next article. Apple introduces a lockdown mode for iPhone, and the feature will attempt to block elite spyware and data exfiltration programs.
What's this all about? And then I'm going to give my 2 bits on this.
So there is a security function in iPhones, I think running iPhone 16's software version.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
And what it will do is if you enable it, it will prevent some of the commonly exploitable features that spyware and data exfiltration programs use. In particular, just name a couple features that will be disabled. Most message attachments and other images will be blocked, like previews will be disabled. Web technologies like JavaScript will be disabled. Shared albums and photos will be removed. Invitations will be blocked. Your device cannot enroll in mobile device management. Your device plugged into a wired connection to a computer will not allow data to be transferred. A bunch of features that will be disabled if while using that function.
Okay, so kind of cool, right? Because it's really increasing the privacy on these devices, which makes it harder for people to get in to see what's on the device. But you know what? The criminal element is going to love this, because basically what it's going to do is it's going to make it extremely, even more harder for law enforcement now to use the techniques that they use to get into the iPhones of criminal elements, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
but at the same time,
okay, here we go. It
will prevent law enforcement from overstepping and collecting
right.
data without a warrant not telling people about it. As we've seen in data leaks and whistleblowing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of the bad case law that comes out is because of cops doing things they shouldn't be doing, right? And I mean, just recently here in Canada, you've probably read that the RCMP has now admitted that they're using spyware on for some specific social media accounts and that kind of stuff to see what people are doing. Like it's just come to light. And it's kind of like, what? That's kind of like really Big Brother-ish, right?
So that's why these features are being made by companies in order to prevent that.
But you know what, though? It's a two-edged sword. Like, we're privacy hawks here. We really are. But by doing that, the criminal element is going to love it, because it's just going to make it much, 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 much harder for law enforcement to do any kind of enforcement. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
interesting story nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure.
Apple announced it's only really meant for like a very small portion of the population, people who are
Criminals.
actually being targeted,
Criminals.
like business executives,
Criminals.
and or that as well.
Criminals.
But it can be used for good or not so good.
I get it.
Depends on who is using it.
Like if you're with the government and that kind of stuff, I'd be using this, right? Like
if
protect
you're a
my
CEO
device, right?
and
for sure.
you handle sensitive information.
Now, it's going to affect the functionality of the phone, right? Like it won't be as robust with respect to some of the things you
can't do all the
with
cool stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Criminals.
Another story when
God.
it comes to government and social media use. New York requires gun applicants to hand over social media accounts.
Okay, this is a feel-good.
This is not passwords, by the way. This
No.
is just the handle and URL. So this is for concealed carry permits in New York.
Yeah. As a result of everything that's going on, they're trying to do everything they can because they can't pass laws through Congress of what's going on in the United States right now. So they're looking at anything they can do to increase the ability of law enforcement on the background checks to help make an assessment if they should be giving a concealed carry license. Couple thoughts on this. Like I said, this is more of a feel-good kind of a thing because this is more of a political move. Because as you know, if the social media account is privatized, you're not going to see anything anyways.
Yeah,
right?
and I think some of the sheriffs in New York stated that they're not even going to bother checking because they're not going to get much data from that anyways.
And youth today, and not just youth, but people in general, they're becoming far more savvy over the issues of privacy. So we're seeing more and more privacy or social media accounts that were traditionally open accounts now being privatized, right, from a safety and security standpoint, which is what we definitely agree with. Now, do I think this is necessarily a bad thing? No, as long as we don't have to provide the passwords. Like
no, it's just the link. So you have to provide social media accounts you've controlled within the past 3 years.
So a good example, when we applied for our American visa, working visa, we had to provide them all our social media accounts, right? It's like, but just the accounts.
Well, you think of how many accounts we run. Right. That's all. I think we had to use like extra pages because we are in social media. So you want all the links? Here you go.
But we didn't have to provide the passwords, right? But I mean, again, this is more of a feel-good, look-good political move. I don't necessarily think, there may be some one-offs where they're looking at a person who has an open account that may give them some insight. But, it's funny when you say that some of the sheriffs are saying, like, we're actually not going to look at it because we know. Or what's to stop me from creating, say, a Finsta account? And that's the one
you
I
could
provide.
lie, but if you lie, that could be grounds to have your permit revoked.
Yeah, but who's going to double check, right? Like, it's kind of like it's going to take time and effort. But again, from a feel good, look good political perspective, okay, I get it, right? They're trying what it is that they can do because the new Supreme Court decision in the United States a week and a half ago where the Supreme Court kind of axed a lot of the requirements needed for a concealed carry because New York was one of the toughest, right?
Yes.
And the Supreme Court in the United States kind of knocked that down and said, no, it's too restrictive. So New York and other states are trying to figure out ways to tighten things up. And so this is moved. So this is no doubt a political, feel good, see good kind of a move. But
some of the critics of the law said the definition of social media is not good enough because it's defined as basically a public platform. So platforms like Discord, which don't have a public access point, would then be excluded. Given the definition and language. This reminds me of the Senate hearing. Would you end Finsta? Remember that?
Yeah.
Do they know people who wrote this law? Do they know all the social networks and how they work? I don't think so.
This also kind of reminds me, like I wrote an article on this, I think a year ago, over how the fact that a lot of schools and school districts now are buying monitoring software, right? Like they're paying $27,000, $30,000 a year to monitor their students using of social media. But again,
they use Snapchat and can't see anything.
Exactly, right? So a lot of the good research is coming out on this type of technology is just showing that it has very little usage when it comes to looking at that. Right now, it's different if the kids are using, say, a school computer with a school email address. They're able to monitor that. But if the kid is using their own device, using their own network, and it's a privatized account, or they're using something like Snapchat or something else that's being encrypted, they're not going to see it.
But even then, when you log into a network or a program, the monitoring software is probably not going to see anything anyways, unless it's key logging. But then you have...
It is, actually. And that's exactly what some of this software is doing is key logging, right? And so
the problem is that brings some privacy issues, as we've seen
here in Canada.
At least here in Canada, we've seen businesses spying on all the employees
Yeah.
through key logging has been kind of a no-no
Yeah.
in regards to privacy legislation.
But in the United States, it's not so much. And, and there's a
true.
couple of companies, I'm not going to mention who they are, that have shown that by using their software in the schools to monitor school computers and networks and emails, they've picked up on things like suicidal ideations and other things that they were able to bring attention to the safety of the kids. But again, they're key logging, and there's a real breach of privacy going on there as well, which would not be acceptable here in Canada, but in the United States. But even then, when it comes to gun violence, it has very little prevention qualities to it, right? So,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Speaking of Rogers,
here we go.
So, Canada, a majority of Canadians were disconnected from the internet for like 15 hours the other day.
I use Fido, which piggybacks on the Rogers network, right? You don't because you have Bell, right?
Yeah. I guess you. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
this is brutal. Like
Yeah.
this company makes, I think it was over $1 billion last year, right? Like they're huge, and as a result of that, they've now said, like, the latest thing is they were really, I think it was like $4. They were now. You got to be careful because there's a lot of scams like the one I just mentioned a little bit earlier going on with people who are going to want to make, get money back. But they're saying, what Roger's saying is they're not going to refund money directly to you. They're going to take it off your account, right? And they're looking at some other things. But I think that it was like $3.50 or $4 was the last amount. It's like, are you kidding me? What about these companies who lost hundreds, thousands of dollars because they couldn't use their Interact machines or their debit cards as a result of that? Like, this is brutal.
Well, that's because in the license agreements with the service, there are language that basically absolves companies.
I know,
like
but it's
this.
brutal. Like, this is a really good example here in Canada. Like, I'm getting heated. You can tell, right? Like, our friends in the United States laugh at us up here in Canada because when you look at cellular costs in the United States, it's like pennies on the dollar. The unlimited internet access is free. Like, it's just,
We have that here in Canada, but it's throttled.
like,
at a
it's brutal,
percentage.
right? Like, so this is a really good example of where when you have a conglomerate here in Canada, because I think we only have 4 big players in the field, right? When you think about it, you got Rogers, you got Bell, you got TELUS, you got Shaw, right? Like, I think those are the 4 big players. You might have one more. All the other ones that do come up, you have to piggyback on their network. So this is a really good example where, because Rogers right now is in the process of attempting to buy Shaw Communications, right? Because
Right.
Shaw is West Coast, Rogers was East. Well, Rogers has now made a bid, an accepted bid to go Rogers. CRTC is now looking at this. But this is a really good example of too big, not enough competition, and as a result of that, bad things can happen.
We pay the highest cell phone cost, I think,
It's
in the
brutal.
world.
In the world.
And shouldn't we receive the highest quality of service?
Yeah. Here's a little bit of free advice for Rogers if you're watching right now. What about offering a month for free on the use of your network for the discomfort that we felt for the day and a half? Wouldn't that be a really good PR move to say, hey, you know what, subscribers, we care about you so much and we understand what happened. We are going to give you a month free. Like, hey, that would be great. But what they're doing right now is causing some people to go, maybe we need to look at TELUS. Maybe we need to look at Bell. But again, you're still paying a premium on, can you tell I'm heated? Like, this is brutal.
Cell phone costs in Canada are expensive.
Yeah, but again, this is, I think, a really good example. I really hope the CRTC is looking at this and maybe using it as a reason why they should not let Rogers absorb Shaw. Because again, once Rogers has absorbed Shaw, they've created another too big to fail. And when they do fail, bad things happen.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you're Canadian, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And those are the top news stories.
Hey, you know what we forgot to mention?
What's that?
Our new podcast.
True.
We have a new podcast our first episode was last week, and that was it was very well received. Like, I had a number of people on Facebook say, "Hey, that was really good." Like, I didn't recognize that a lot of boomers They love listening. They don't necessarily, I know that video is king, right? But a lot of the boomers, a lot of the older parents are saying, you know, when we're driving back and forth to work, that sometimes takes us 40 minutes to an hour, we love listening to podcasts. And so, again, there's some people who learn better visually, and there's some people who learn better auditorily.
Yeah, there's some modes of
modality of learning.
Like some people listen to YouTube videos like you could this one, like a podcast.
Yeah.
Problem with YouTube as an app is that you cannot close the app and listen to a video in the background.
Yeah.
And for things like driving, for example, or going for a run or those kind of situations outside the household, it's hard to access YouTube like a podcast.
Or watching YouTube as you're going for a walk, boom, into a tree.
True.
Off a cliff, into traffic.
So yeah, that is the parenting in an online world.
Yeah.
So that is a podcast specific for parents. And
this week's
parenting.
is on sextortion. Very topical, big deal going on right now. And so that's this week's podcast. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it was a new skill for me to learn. Credit to you for pushing me that way and learning a new skill. So you taught me how to use specific software to do it and all that. So I've been having fun. And so, yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And the feedback so far has been really positive. They like how it sounds. It sounds professional. So I'm still learning. I'm still kind of tweaking things, you know, but it's pretty cool. It's good to have this podcast.
All righty.
How do they find the podcast, by the way?
Podcast is, I'll put a link in the description down below for the YouTube video. It's also located on front page of our website, thewhitehatter.ca, and it's usually, we post episodes, links on our social networks.
Yeah, and you can get it on the Apple Podcast, the Google Podcast, what was it, Spotify?
Spotify, the top four.
The top four, you can find them there as well. So, yeah,
All
great show.
And we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.